What's up, fam? We're going to do this a little bit different today. We're going to use Zoom because I want to be able to share my screen and actually show what we're going to talk about in like a really practical sense. If you're just listening to this on Spotify or Apple or Google Music or wherever it is that you're listening to the podcast, then I'll do the best I can to explain the visuals. But I want to outline the concept of building the total. And this comes with a caveat because I remember being that guy. John Jones and I went to a USAPL level one course years ago. It's actually the first time I got to directly learn from Matt and Susie Gary, two of the all-time greatest coaches within powerlifting. And I remember Matt bringing this up during the course. It's like, it's all about building the total. And he asked the question, he said, if I could guarantee that you would add 2.5 to 5 kilos every single meet, would you take it? And at the time, I was, I'd been lifting for years at this point, but I was still taking big swings. Like I wanted to see a 20 kilo increase. I wanted to see a 30 kilo increase. I wanted to see these big PRs. And I remember laughing and being like, yeah, right. This is powerlifting. This is about the total. And this is about how much weight you can move. And this is about all those things, lions in the jungle or, some other bullshit. But it wasn't until later where I started to really realize that this was the approach that was necessary from not just a training perspective, but from a sport outlook perspective. Like when you look at the most successful individuals within the sport, they build their total over time. And yeah, you'll see like a couple spikes, but most of the time it's very consistent progress over time. And one of the reasons for this is the gap between talent and experience. There's plenty of talented athletes out there, plenty of them. But one of the things they want, and a lot of things that are sold to them, is this like very quick progress because they see it in the beginning. We all see it in the beginning. And a very talented athlete is going to see even more progress than your typical noob gains and put them at a level that's already going to put them on a competitive national stage. The issue is they haven't competed enough to have enough experience to express all of that talent. And when you stack up a whole bunch of 4 for 9 days, 5 for 9 days, hitting your openers or maybe hitting an opener on your third attempt when you finally meet standard or you finally execute commands or whatever it may be, or bomb out a couple meets and have to go through that process, it can stall progress. And in some cases, it can get athletes to evaluate their place in the sport and leave before they've gained the requisite experience to express their talent and get to the level that they really deserve to be in, the level that they should be in. So to illustrate this, I actually want to bring up a bit of a case study. I'm not going to tell you who the athlete is, but it's one of my athletes that I've worked with for a while now. And I've got all of the USAPL results up on the screen. So we can actually look at this and start to analyze, like, where was the start? Where is the end? What are we actually looking at here? And when you look, there's obviously like changes in Wilks and points and dots and all that stuff. We're strictly going to look at the total. That's where we want to look because most of this lifter's career has been within relatively the same weight classes, and that hasn't really changed too terribly much. And it's been over the course of 7 years. So this is an extended period of time in the sport. So we look very first competition, 277.5 total, then a 297.5 total, and then a 307.5 total. Really good progress in those first 3 years because that's 2015, 2016, 2017. And it's pretty common to see, like some more spread out things for beginners as they try to like figure out the sport. But then the competition frequency like really ramps up. But it's also where we start to see a lot of 6 for 9 days. There's one where there's a 0 total because of a bomb out on deadlifts. There's a couple deadlift only meets, probably trying to, overcome that previous bomb out. But then we see a string in 2019 where there's consistent totaling. So in 2018, there's a 372.5 total. It's the top total that athlete has hit. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, where it's between 370 and 377.5. So 7.5 kilos over the course of like 2 years of what was actually put on the platform. And when we look at the actual analytics here, we see a 6 for 9 day, a 7 for 9 day, 6 for 9 day, a 6 for 9 day, a 5 for 9 day. Like those stack up. They become difficult. They become difficult to recover from. They become difficult to build on. And then if you're looking at it long term and you're looking meet to meet to meet to meet to meet, and you're putting all this hard work in between the meets and you're not seeing a return, or you're seeing a regression in the total, that's not what we end up wanting to see. We'd like to see some more conservative calling, more consistent makes, and a 2.5, 5 kilo PR on the day for the total. That's how you build it. That's the consistency you want to see. So then what do we see in 2020? We see a 7 for 9 day that ends at a 385 total. We see a 9 for 9 day that ends in a 397.5 total. We see an 8 for 9 day that ends in a 420 total. And then this past nationals, we see a 6 for 9 day that was a 425 total. All the seconds, all the thirds were shots for records, American records, weight class and age classification records, like all those things that you dream of. And this athlete got all the second attempts and still ended up with a 5 kilo PR. We still built the total. So that's where you have to look at this when it comes to what are we actually, what's the goal when it comes to competition? What is that used for? And ultimately speaking, competition should be used to look at the outcome of what training has looked like, and not always shoot for the stars, not always shoot for what's the biggest. We want the biggest total. I understand that's the desire, but what's the next step in the evolution as an athlete? Is that another 5 kilos and 9 for 9, and understanding that meet went 9 hours as opposed to the first one that I did that took 3.5? Is it getting used to a different format? This past year at USAPL Nationals, it was really interesting because we intermixed raw lifters and equipped lifters, and they just have different warm-up times. Things are different. So intermingling that and having that as an adjustment was something that all of us had to deal with. But that comes with experience. To do that, you have to stay in the sport longer, and you have to build your total over time as that measuring stick of success. So hopefully this helped you guys out. Building the total is something that, especially as I've gotten into all the coaching and all the athletes that we've worked with and all the progress we've seen, it is a mentality that we've built our team around, is taking that time to add 2.5, to add 5 kilos, and do it in a really disciplined manner and continue to stack up wins. So if you have any questions about this, I'm an open book. You can hop on Instagram and ask me there, rebuild_stronger. If you have any friends that need to hear something like this, please share it, rate us on Spotify. 5-star would be awesome so that we can help more people like you understand topics like this. Until next time, I'll see you then.